Welcome 1953 Wheat Penny to my YouTube channel. What if the change in your pocket could secretly make you a millionaire overnight? It sounds impossible, almost like a fantasy, but for a select few collectors, that fantasy has already become reality. Today, we're diving into a coin so deceptively ordinary that millions of people have handled it without a second glance. Yet hidden among them could be one worth an unbelievable fortune. I'm talking about the mysterious 1953 wheat penny, a coin that looks like just another piece of copper, but carries whispers of a value that could change your life forever, with rare examples rumored to reach an astonishing $53 million. Yes, you heard that right. 53 million. And before you dismiss that as exaggeration, you'll want to stay with me, because what I'm about to reveal will completely change how you look at every penny you touch. And trust me, the coins coming next in this series will make this one look almost ordinary, so don't go anywhere. Now let's get into the heart of the story, because the 1953 wheat penny didn't start out as anything special. Minted in Philadelphia, the P mint mark is actually absent, which is normal for that era, making these coins incredibly easy to overlook. In 1953, America was in a post-war boom, and pennies were being produced in massive numbers to keep up with the growing economy. Billions of wheat pennies circulated through stores, pockets, vending machines, and piggy banks. Most of them lived ordinary lives, used, worn down, and eventually forgotten. But somewhere in that enormous production run, something unusual happened, something subtle, something that only the sharpest eyes would notice decades later. Certain 1953 pennies were struck under highly unusual conditions. Some believe experimental dyes were used, while others suggest microscopic doubling errors or metal composition anomalies that were never meant to leave the mint. These tiny imperfections, invisible to the average person, are exactly what transformed a 1-cent coin into a multi-million-dollar treasure. Imagine a mint worker adjusting machinery late at night, unaware that a slight misalignment or pressure variation would create a coin destined to become legendary. That's the kind of quiet accident that changes history. Collectors today obsess over these details. They study the lettering, the date, the wheat stalks on the reverse, searching for the faintest signs of rarity. And here's where things get even more fascinating. Some of these ultra-rare 1953 wheat pennies are believed to have been struck on planchets intended for different denominations or even different years, creating hybrid coins that defy expectations. These are the coins that ignite bidding wars at auctions, where wealthy collectors compete fiercely, sometimes pushing prices into the millions. While a confirmed public sale of $53 million remains in the realm of elite private transactions and estimates, the buzz around this coin has only grown stronger, fueled by stories of unexpected discoveries. There are real accounts of people finding valuable wheat pennies in old jars, inherited collections, or even loose change from decades ago. Picture this: an old wooden drawer, untouched for years, filled with coins your grandparents saved. You open it casually, not expecting much, and among the dull copper pieces sits a 1953 penny. At first glance, nothing special. But under magnification, you notice something odd: the spacing of the numbers, the sharpness of Lincoln's profile, the subtle doubling on the lettering. That moment, right there, is the moment everything changes. That's the moment when an ordinary day turns into a life-altering discovery. And this is exactly why collectors are so passionate about this coin. It's not just about money. It's about the thrill of the hunt, the possibility that something extraordinary is hiding in plain sight. But don't get too comfortable yet, because as incredible as this coin is, there are even more shocking pieces coming up next in this journey. Coins with stories so bizarre and values so extreme that you'll question everything you thought you knew about pocket change. Now, let's go deeper into what makes this coin so desirable. Condition plays a massive role. A worn 1953 penny might only be worth a few cents, but a pristine, uncirculated example with the right era characteristics? That's where the magic happens. Coins graded at the highest levels, those with perfect surfaces, sharp strikes, and original luster, are incredibly rare. Combine that with a unique minting anomaly, and you've got a coin that collectors would go to extraordinary lengths to acquire. Some experts believe that only a handful of these high-value variants exist, which explains the sky-high valuations. Scarcity drives demand, and demand drives price. It's a simple equation, but when emotions and competition enter the mix, prices can spiral into the unimaginable. Auction rooms become battlefields, with bidders raising paddles in rapid succession, each determined not to lose. And sometimes, these coins don't even make it to public auctions. They're sold privately, quietly changing hands among elite collectors who understand their true worth. That secrecy only adds to the mystique, making the 1953 Wheat Penny feel almost mythical. And yet, despite all this, it's entirely possible that more of these coins are still out there, waiting to be discovered. Think about how many pennies have been forgotten in jars, tucked away in attics, or buried in old collections. Think about how many people have unknowingly spent them, passing along a fortune without ever realizing it. That's what makes this story so powerful. It's not just history, it's possibility. It's the idea that right now, somewhere, someone is holding one of these coins without knowing its true value. And that someone could be you. So the next time you come across a penny, don't ignore it. Look at the date. Examine the details. Because hidden within something so small could be a story worth millions. And if you're already amazed by this coin, just wait. Because the next one we're about to explore takes rarity and mystery to an entirely new level, with secrets that even seasoned collectors struggle to explain. Next today, 1956 Wheat Penny to my YouTube channel. This is the coin that proves even pocket change can rewrite your life. And today's story might make you rush to check every jar, drawer, and wallet you own because we are talking about the 1956 Wheat Penny, a coin so ordinary in appearance that millions of people have handled it without a second thought. Yet hidden among those billions lies a version so rare and so mysterious that collectors have whispered about it for decades, with rumors of examples reaching an astonishing value of up to $56 million. Yes, you heard that right. A single penny that could be worth more than luxury mansions, private jets, or even entire businesses. And the most unbelievable part is that it could still be out there, quietly sitting in circulation, waiting for someone like you to notice it before it's too late. And trust me, you'll want to stay until the very end, because what I'm about to reveal next about upcoming coins will completely change the way you look at your spare change forever without even hinting at their full worth yet. Now let's dive deeper into the fascinating world of the 1956 Wheat Penny, a coin minted during a time when America was experiencing rapid economic growth, post-war optimism, and massive coin production. The Philadelphia Mint struck hundreds of millions of pennies that year, all bearing the iconic wheat stalk design that collectors adore. But within that massive production run, something unexpected happened. A combination of minting quirks, subtle errors, and extremely limited variations created a handful of coins that stand out like hidden diamonds in a sea of copper. And these are the coins that drive collectors into a frenzy whenever one appears, because finding one is like discovering a needle in a haystack made of millions of identical needles. The 1956 Wheat Penny might look simple at first glance, featuring Abraham Lincoln's profile on the front and the classic wheat ears on the back. But what separates the multi-million-dollar versions from the ordinary ones are the tiny details that most people would never think to check, including rare die errors, doubled dies, off-center strikes, and even unique metal compositions that slipped through quality control at the mint. And here's where things get truly exciting, because some experts believe that a small batch of these pennies may have been struck using experimental planchets or misaligned dies, creating coins that are not just rare, but essentially one of a kind. And when something is truly unique in the world of coin collecting, the price can skyrocket beyond imagination. Imagine this scenario. Someone decades ago receives a handful of pennies as change, tosses them into a jar, and forgets about them completely. Years later, that jar gets passed down through generations, sitting untouched in an attic or basement. And inside it could be one of these rare 1956 wheat pennies worth millions. And the family has no idea. This is not just a fantasy. Stories like this have actually happened in the coin collecting world, where ordinary people stumble upon life-changing discoveries simply because they took a closer look at something everyone else ignored. And that's exactly why this coin continues to capture the imagination of collectors and treasure hunters alike. Now here's something even more intriguing. The highest estimated value of $56 million isn't just based on hype. It's driven by the intense competition among elite collectors who are always searching for the rarest possible pieces. When a coin combines historical significance, extreme rarity, and a compelling story, it becomes more than just currency. It becomes a symbol of prestige. And wealthy collectors are willing to pay unimaginable amounts to own something that almost no one else can have. And the 1956 wheat penny, in its rarest form, checks all of those boxes perfectly. But how do you know if you might have one of these hidden treasures? Well, the key lies in examining your coins carefully. Look for unusual features like doubling in the lettering, strange spacing, or anything that looks slightly off compared to a normal penny. Pay attention to the color and texture as well, because some rare variants may have subtle differences that set them apart. And if you ever come across a 1956 penny that just feels different, don't ignore that instinct, because that small moment of curiosity could potentially change your life forever. And while you're thinking about that, let me plant another idea in your mind, because coming up next in this series is another coin that collectors are absolutely obsessed with, a coin that has its own shocking story, mysterious origins, and unbelievable features that most people completely overlook. And trust me, you won't want to miss it because its secrets are even more surprising than what we've uncovered so far. So make sure you stay with me until the end. The allure of the 1956 wheat penny also comes from the era it represents, a time when coins were still made with a level of craftsmanship and detail that many believe has been lost today. Each penny carries a piece of history, a snapshot of a nation in transition, and owning a rare version of this coin is like holding a tangible connection to that moment in time, which adds another layer of emotional value that goes far beyond the monetary aspect. And that emotional connection is something collectors are willing to pay a premium for. Auction houses have seen fierce bidding wars over rare wheat pennies in the past, with prices climbing higher and higher as collectors compete for ownership. And while not every 1956 penny will reach millions, the existence of even one or two extraordinary examples is enough to fuel the dream that anyone could find the next big discovery. And that dream is what keeps people searching, checking, and hoping every single day. Before we wrap up, take a moment to think about where your spare coins are right now. Are they sitting in a jar, scattered in drawers, or buried in old boxes? Because hidden among them could be a piece of history worth a fortune. And the only difference between someone who discovers it and someone who doesn't is simply taking the time to look. And remember, this is just the beginning, because the next coin we're going to explore has a story that might be even more unbelievable, with twists and surprises that will keep you guessing until the very last second. So don't go anywhere, because if you thought this penny was incredible, what's coming next will completely blow your mind. Next, 1945 wheat penny to my YouTube channel. What if the change in your pocket could secretly make you a millionaire overnight? It sounds impossible, almost like a fantasy, but what if I told you that a simple 1945 wheat penny, yes, a coin most people wouldn't even bend down to pick up, has been rumored in rare cases to reach jaw-dropping values as high as $45 million. Imagine that for a second, a single penny worth more than luxury mansions, supercars, and entire businesses combined. And the most shocking part? It could still be out there, quietly hiding in circulation, waiting for someone like you to notice it. Today, we're diving deep into the mystery, the history, and the unbelievable secrets behind the 1945 Philadelphia Mint Wheat Penny, a coin that looks ordinary but might just be one of the most valuable treasures in American numismatic history. Now listen carefully, because later in this video, we'll uncover strange minting errors and hidden clues that could instantly tell you if your coin is the one collectors are desperately searching for. And trust me, what's coming next in this series will make this coin look almost tame, so you'll want to stay with me till the very end. The 1945 wheat penny was minted during a fascinating time in history, the final year of World War II. America was transitioning from wartime production back to normalcy, and the U.S. Mint in Philadelphia was striking millions upon millions of pennies to keep up with economic demand. At first glance, there's nothing special about this coin. It features Abraham Lincoln on the front, strong and dignified, and on the reverse, those iconic wheat stalks framing the words 1 cent. Millions were made, over a billion, in fact, which would normally make it extremely common and nearly worthless. But here's where things start to get interesting, because hidden within those billions are a few extremely rare variations and minting anomalies that have turned this humble penny into a collector's obsession. You see, during 1945, the minting process wasn't perfect. Equipment was worn down from years of heavy wartime use, and quality control wasn't always as strict as it should have been. This led to the creation of coins with subtle but incredibly valuable differences, things like doubled dies, off-center strikes, and even transitional metal errors. Imagine a coin being struck slightly off alignment, or the design being stamped twice ever so slightly. To the naked eye, it might look like a flaw, but to collectors, it's a golden ticket. And then there are the whispers, the stories that circulate quietly among elite collectors, about ultra-rare experimental strikes, coins that may have been minted using leftover metal compositions or trial dies. These are the coins that can skyrocket in value, especially if they are in pristine, uncirculated condition. Picture this: someone cleaning out an old attic, opening a dusty jar of coins untouched for decades, and finding a 1945 wheat penny with a strange shine, a slightly different weight, or an unusual detail in Lincoln's profile. Most people would overlook it, but a trained eye? They'd recognize the possibility instantly. And that's what makes this so exciting, because coins like this don't announce themselves. They don't glow or sparkle differently. They sit quietly among ordinary change, blending in perfectly. Now, let's talk about condition, because this is where the value can explode. A regular 1945 penny in circulated condition might only be worth a few cents or $1 at best. But take that same coin, preserve it in near-perfect condition, no scratches, sharp details, original luster, and suddenly you're looking at hundreds, even thousands of dollars. Add in a rare minting error, and the value climbs dramatically. Combine multiple rare features? That's when we start hearing those unbelievable multi-million-dollar estimates being whispered in collector circles. And yes, while the $45 million figure represents the absolute extreme high-end speculation tied to unique, one-of-a-kind specimens, it reflects just how powerful rarity, history, and condition can be when they collide. But here's the part most people don't realize. Many of these valuable coins are still out there. They haven't all been discovered. In fact, experts believe that a significant number of rare wheat pennies remain hidden in everyday places: old piggy banks, inherited coin jars, forgotten drawers, even rolls of pennies from the bank. That means the next time you get change, you might be holding something extraordinary without even knowing it. And as we go deeper into this series, I'm going to show you exactly what signs to look for, the tiny details that separate an ordinary penny from a life-changing discovery. But don't go anywhere yet, because coming up, we'll be diving into another coin from this same era that has its own shocking secrets. And trust me, it's even more mysterious than this one. Before we move on, let's take a moment to imagine the journey of one of these rare 1945 pennies. It leaves the mint, enters circulation, passes through countless hands: a soldier, a shopkeeper, a child buying candy. Decades go by, and it ends up forgotten in a jar. Years later, someone finds it, almost spins it, then pauses. Something feels different. That single moment of curiosity could be the difference between losing a fortune and discovering one. That's why awareness is everything. The more you know, the better your chances of spotting one of these hidden gems. And remember, this is just the beginning. Because the next coin we're about to explore has a story that's even more unbelievable, with twists that even seasoned collectors didn't see coming. So make sure you stay with me, because if you think this 1945 wheat penny is incredible, what's coming next might completely change how you look at every coin you own. Next, 1956 wheat penny to my YouTube channel. What if the change in your pocket could secretly make you a millionaire overnight? It sounds impossible, almost like a fantasy, but hidden among billions of ordinary coins is one specific piece that has stunned collectors and rewritten lives. Today, we're diving into the mysterious and highly sought-after 1956 wheat penny, a coin so deceptively simple that most people would overlook it without a second thought. But here's the shocking truth. Under the right conditions, this tiny copper coin has been valued at an astonishing $56 million, and the story behind why is more unbelievable than you could ever imagine. So before you dismiss that jar of old coins sitting in your home, you might want to pay very close attention to what I'm about to reveal. Now let's get straight to it. The 1956 wheat penny isn't just another coin from the past. It represents a fascinating moment in minting history where subtle variations, rare minting quirks, and near-mythical error versions turned an everyday penny into one of the most talked-about treasures in numismatic circles. And yes, collectors have placed jaw-dropping valuations reaching up to $56 million for the rarest known examples in pristine condition with specific anomalies. But here's the twist. Not every 1956 penny is valuable. And that's exactly what makes the hunt so thrilling. Because somewhere out there, possibly in circulation or hidden in a forgotten collection, could be the exact variant that changes everything. And trust me, you'll want to stick till the end, because what's coming next in this series will make this coin look almost ordinary. And I'm not exaggerating when I say the next coin has a story that even seasoned collectors struggle to believe. Back in 1956, the United States Mint was producing millions upon millions of wheat pennies as part of everyday commerce. These coins featured the iconic design by Victor David Brenner, with Abraham Lincoln on the front and two wheat stalks framing the reverse, symbolizing prosperity and unity. And at the time, no one, not the workers at the mint, not the people spending them, could have imagined that decades later, a handful of these coins would be worth more than luxury mansions. But what separates the ordinary from the extraordinary lies in the tiniest details, the kind that most people would never notice. And that's where the mystery begins, because certain 1956 wheat pennies are believed to have been struck with extremely rare die variations, including doubled dies, off-center strikes, and even experimental planchets that were never meant to leave the mint. And when these errors combine with near-perfect preservation, the result is a coin so rare that it becomes almost priceless, and collectors, especially high-end investors, are willing to pay staggering amounts to own a piece of that history. And here's where it gets even more fascinating. There have been stories circulating within the numismatic community about a particular 1956 wheat penny that surfaced briefly in a private auction. described as having an extraordinary strike quality with subtle doubling on the date and lettering, combined with an unusual luster that experts couldn't fully explain. And while official records remain scarce, whispers of its valuation reaching tens of millions have only fueled the legend further, making this coin one of the most talked about what-if treasures in modern coin collecting. And imagine this for a moment. You're sorting through old coins passed down from a relative, maybe something you've ignored for years, and suddenly you notice a 1956 penny. It looks normal at first, but then you take a closer look. Maybe the lettering seems slightly doubled. Maybe the shine is just a bit too perfect, and that's when your heart starts racing, because you realize you might be holding something extraordinary. And this is exactly why collectors around the world are obsessed with this coin, because unlike rare artifacts locked away in museums, this one could still be out there, hiding in plain sight, waiting to be discovered by someone who knows what to look for. And speaking of knowing what to look for, one of the key indicators that separates a high-value 1956 wheat penny from a common one is the condition. Coins graded MS 67 or higher, meaning they are in near-perfect mint state, can command incredible attention, but when you add a rare error into the mix, the value doesn't just increase, it skyrockets into a completely different realm. And this is where things get almost surreal, because we're no longer talking about a collectible worth a few $1,000s. We're talking about a life-changing discovery that could alter someone's future overnight. And yet, despite all this, most people still spend these coins without a second thought, which makes you wonder, how many of these rare pennies have already been lost to time, spent on everyday purchases, or sitting unnoticed in collections that haven't been examined closely enough? And that thought alone is enough to keep collectors searching endlessly, because the possibility, no matter how slim, is always there. And just when you think this story couldn't get any more intriguing, remember this: we're only getting started, because the next coin we're going to talk about takes rarity to an entirely different level, with a backstory that involves mint marks, hidden variations, and a twist that has left even experts scratching their heads. So make sure you stay with me, because if this 1956 wheat penny has already blown your mind, what's coming next might completely change the way you look at every coin you own. And trust me, you won't want to miss a single second of it.